think for me, personally, one of the hardest things for me to prepare a message or to do, especially preaching, is that I want me to panic. Go to the front. Oh man, okay, how do I distract this? What do I want to say? How do I want to say it? Then you start preparing a message and then things change around and it's not nice and you're about to go and you go, oh, no. It's worse. It's the worst, but God is faithful.
Amen.
He's faithful. He's faithful. Even if I speak all of the scriptures or say all of the things, there'll be something we hear that will take something from a message this evening. And so here we go. We're going to speak about a very important subject, or heavy subject, because it's something that is very deceptive in our lives, especially in our recovery, and especially with us trying to make a success of our lives or trying to make something of ourselves, especially looking at the background we come from. And we've heard the scripture many times, and I think sometimes the way we behave, we don't think it applies to us. It doesn't apply to us because we're in a good place, it doesn't apply to us because we're doing God's work, it doesn't apply to us because we're reading our Bibles, it doesn't apply to us because we're praying and doing everything we're supposed to do. And that's in Proverbs 16. Verse 18. I'll read it for you. May I read it? In the New King James it says, pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. What I like about King James and New King James is you find, these are King James Bibles. If you notice in King James you find italic writing. So you have solid writing, and in between you have the italics. The reason it's italic, it means they were just put in there so you can maybe understand the scripture better. So, for example, in the New King James it says pride goes before destruction. Remove goes. It says pride before destruction. Pride before destruction. You know, many of us here this evening, including myself in the past, where I've lived a life that's been very destructive. The Word of God, the Scriptures are alive. It means what it means. So, can I make a bold statement and say that one of the reasons our lives became destructive because maybe there was a lot of pride in our lives. But how is that possible? I have no self-esteem. I don't believe in myself. I always fall short. Pride is a deceptive spirit. It was so deceptive that it caused Lucifer to fall. And I'll show you how deceptive it is. Because many times we think for us to have self-esteem, for us to do well, that we do this very thing I'm about to read to you. In Isaiah 14 verse 13. You could have read Isaiah 14, 13. What do you think it speaks about? Anybody know? The fall of Lucifer. It gives you a bit of a take on how Lucifer fell. It says in verse 12, how you have fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. Nice name, son of the morning. How you have fallen from heaven, son of the morning. How you are cut down to the ground. You who weaken nations. For you have said in your heart, please pay attention to what I'm about to read to you. I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation on the furthest side of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. And I believe that's what the enemy uses against us. He uses our will against us. There's something we used to use at the centre, and I think it still flutters around. It says his self will run right. You heard that? Self will run right. And the very thing the enemy is after is your will. Your will. And he has to deceive you for you to give over your will. Every one of us, before we started drugging or doing anything about what caused us to be here, before we started doing that, we had to be deceived into doing it. Once we get deceived enough, our will gets handed over. You'll give up almost anything to get your drug of choice, especially when you're at the most destructive place in your life. Your will starts getting taken over. So the thing is now is, if it's a problem with our will, how do we change it? because we can sober up, we can get clean, we can start feeling better about ourselves. And what do we normally start doing when we start feeling better about ourselves? My will, my will, my will. I think I should do things. What you start cutting people out. I want to give a bit of a quote here, give an idea of what I'm trying to say. Pride erects a little kingdom of its own. Okay? Pride erects a little kingdom of its own and makes itself sovereign. If you ever had a kingdom with one person, that's what pride does to us. Pride brings us to a place where no one else is allowed into our lives. Think about it when we're at the most destructive place of our lives. We allow no one in. We think we allow people in. But let those people start speaking to our lives, let those people start trying to help us or give us direction. What do? We cut them out. We'll go to everybody that says nothing or challenges us in any way. Anybody challenges us in our addictions, we avoid them. We fight them. Anybody challenges at that time, that's when the pride is there. And what happens is that you isolate and you pull away from all help. I've got someone that I was trying to assist recently, and what I've heard is that the person is going yellow. They're going yellow. Obviously their livers, the kidneys or something. But yet they refuse help.
Yes.
They refuse it. I've seen people come into the centre and walk away and refuse help and go and drink themselves to death. I've seen it. Isn't it my will? Our will? Is it something that we as recovering addicts, or we that are trying to change our lives from dysfunctional behaviour or live a better way, soon we come to a place where we realise that our will has been compromised. What we know has been compromised. How we see things have been compromised. And the only way we can receive what's good is for us to do what? I think Jesus did it in the Garden of Gethsemane. What did he do? Shall I read it to you? Would you like me to read it to you?
Yes.
Luke 22:42. It's going to be a very long sermon. So I'll have to read it. Remember, not your will.
Luke, sorry, Luke what?
My will. 22:42. 22:42. 22:42. Let's say 22. Now you're making me concerned now that I got the wrong scripture. I look like nervous. Here he comes. Damn, wrong one. I'm going to read from 39. Coming out, he went to the Mount of Olives as he was accustomed, and his disciples also followed him. I'm reading from 39, so not 42 anymore. We'll get there, don't worry. When he came to the place, he said to them, "Pray that you may not enter into temptation." And he was withdrawn from them about a stone's throw, and he knelt down and he prayed, saying, "Father, if it is your will, take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done." How many of us are in that place? How many of us are in that place who trust God enough that when we know it's our will and our own understanding, we get to a place where we say, you know what? I'm not too sure. I spoke to someone recently and they actually admitted that they can't trust their own decisions. And I complimented them on it. Because very few of us can say that about ourselves. Very few of us. We can't trust our own decisions because we allow corruption in our lives. Pride has allowed corruption to come into our lives. Corruption in the way we think, corruption in the way we feel, corruption in the way we process. And it takes a huge effort to shift it back into place. But if your own sovereign, in your own little kingdom, it's never going to happen. Never going to happen. One of the biggest things we struggle with here at a place like this, or any place where we're learning to change, or any school, is to listen. Is to listen. Remember, that's one of the biggest signs for anybody. If you're unwilling to listen and you're unteachable, it's a sign of pride. But we think it's okay. We think it's okay. Pride is a heavy thing. Pride, the belief that you are better or more important than other people. It's a simple one, isn't it? Easy to see that one when people walk around thinking they're better than you. You can see it from a mile off. But it gets even deeper. This is the big one we get when people are getting corrected here. That smug, feeling and that smug look of being superior to others or thinking that most people are stupid when compared to you. You ever think that? Then you never think that. We all think that sometimes. Especially when we're angry. Especially when we're angry, we think we know better. I'll read this quote for you here. Angry people are not always wise. For those of you who like to get angry, I know I can get angry. Angry people are not always wise. And here's the big one. Inordinate self-esteem. You ever felt that feeling where you just think you can conquer the world? Right? You ever had that? You start living right, you start feeling better about yourself, and you want to take on the whole world. You're going to study, you're going to train, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and a week later everything's falling flat. Right? That's the thing about pride, it's this overwhelming feeling. And if you don't do anything good in your life, it shouldn't be an overwhelming feeling. It should be a knowing. An unreasonable feeling of superiority as to one's talents, beauty, wealth, and position. And what I like the most, insolence, arrogance of demeanor. We don't realize when we get angry, we don't realize when we don't want to listen, the expression on our faces we might have. We don't understand that thing that you think is protecting you is the very thing that's destroying you because you're not allowing the good to come in. You're pushing the good out. Amen. You're refusing it.
Yes.
See, if there's two sides to the story, there's God and there's the enemy. I think the enemy's going to use the very same thing that took him out. It was powerful enough. It was powerful enough to take out an archangel. What are we? Are we anybody archangels? Maybe some of you think you're an archangel. Have you spoken to someone? Have you read up with angels, what angels can do in the Bible? They're serious. They're very serious. I think one angel in a couple of seconds killed over 180,000 people. Protected 2 people alive. So even if you guys have killed one person, this was able to. And that thing of pride that we think we can stand against in our own ability, you're not going to take us out. You're going to take us out. And it's a daily decision, everything we do to make sure that spirit of pride doesn't come in. Now you think, I'm a pride today. I actually feel down. I feel low self-esteem. Now I've taught this in class before. Understand something. Low self-esteem, one of the biggest defenses for low self-esteem is pride. Because you're trying so hard to build up your self-esteem and feel better about yourself, you're forgetting about the thing behind it, which is pride. It's pride that's stopping you from changing. It's pride that's stopping you from learning. If you listen to how people change, it sounds so easy and you feel so good about change, then why is it so hard? It's not actually as hard as you think. It just comes to a place where you release, not my will, but your will be done. When you can get to that place where you just let go and say, not my will, but your will be done. I don't understand how it's going to work. I don't understand how it's going to work out. And people are freaking out and saying, but why are you doing this? What about your family? You need to do this. You need to do that. I've had that. You've got to get to a place you say, you know, God, I don't know how you're going to do it. I don't know how you're going to repair relationships. I don't know how you're going to fix it. I don't know how this is going to happen. You've got to get to that place you say, okay, I just know that I must give up everything. I must let go of everything that I know so that I can be who you called me to be. It's a scary thing then, isn't it? You know what stops us from taking that on? Pride. That's what deception is like that. It's like fighting a guy that has his lanky legs and lanky arms. You think you're over him with a slap. No, it comes from every angle. No? You think, no, I'm not proud, I'm down, I'm fine, and then it stops you from hearing, stops you from listening. It's not nice to be corrected. You like to be corrected. It's not nice to be corrected when you should not be corrected. It's not nice. But understand something that seems deceptive enough to take you away from what could have happened. Cinnamon, like to put on pancakes, of pride, egotism, arrogance, haughtiness. Let me ask you something. Many of us can be arrogant, especially when we're angry. Right? Now you take arrogance and mix it with pride. Now you take arrogance and you mix it with non-emotional intelligence. Most of us here make bad decisions because our emotional intelligence is not where it should be. We're actually in weak emotion. And many of us are so full of arrogance and emotional intelligence that you don't have put together, which is a big problem and brings destruction in our lives. And the only way we can fix it and hear it if we submit ourselves. That last time you sang, I surrender. I surrender. Many of us refuse to surrender. Refuse to let go. Romans 11:20. Romans 11:20. I'm going to read you a few more scriptures. Further, it's the thing I do. I see something I see that's also very good, so I include it in what I was going to say. So I'm going to start from 17. If you don't mind. No, let's start at 10. No, I'm joking. 17. And if some of the branches were broken off, and you were being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among with it, become a partaker of the root and the fatness of the olive tree. It's talking about being grafted into the kingdom of God, being grafted into the family of God. Do not boast against the branches. But if you do boast, remember that you did not support the root, but the root supports you. Can you imagine a branch of a tree that's boasting how mean it is and you come along? No man's an island, no woman's an island. Eh? You will say then branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Well said, because of unbelief they were broken off. And you stand by faith. Do not be haughty, but fear. Do not be haughty, but fear. 2 Peter 3:17. 2 Peter 3:17. Similar pride. Similar. 40. More of a look. It also is the same. Similar. Same spirit. 40. It's a classy way of saying it. 2 Peter 3:17. You know what's taking you back to your old way of behavior? It's the spirit. Why do you think one of the things we say, not try, you shouldn't talk about the past. You become euphoric when you talk about the things we got up to. If you notice that feeling it gives you when you talk about it. Okay? When you speak about past conquest, or what you used to do, and a friend you used to have, and the things you got away with, and how high you were. If you felt that thing, that's pride, guys. It's pride. And the evil thing about that pride is this, is that there's so many bad things that have happened. The reason we're sitting in these chairs is because a lot more bad has happened than good. But when we sit in these chairs, when we're in a bad place, or when we're prideful, guess what we remember? All the good things.
Yes.
Remember all the good things, forget the bad things. And every time we get to a place we want to change our life, what happens is the bad on it. So we've been caught out. We've been caught out. We've been drunk, and now the families have cornered us. What's going on? And there we go. Oh, we're all sorry. And what happens? You feel better again. What happens? You go back and remember all the good. That's pride.
Yes.
2 Peter 3:17. I was about to read 2:17. I thought, oh, that doesn't look right. It's another scripture. I would read it, but I think, what is this guy talking about? So I would go, I don't have to do this now. Okay. You therefore, beloved, since you know that beforehand beware lest you also fall from your own steadfastness, being led away with the error of the wicked. Another scripture says the error of lawlessness. If you think you know better than the law, if you think you know better than the rules, if you think you know better than the principle, lawlessness. And it says you will fall. It says you will fall. It's not about people showing you up or showing you that better. It's about you protecting yourself. It's about you guarding your heart. Sometimes guarding your heart is difficult. It's difficult. Yeah, Jesus is walking around raising the dead, healing the sick. Your people criticizing him. How many of you raise the dead? Any of you? How many of you prayed for something that has no limbs and limbs pop out? Any of you? And you have people, imagine you were able to do that. Imagine the power of God was on you in such a way that you did what Jesus did, which he says you can. And people come and criticize you and diss you. and say things about you, and you are the Son of God. Imagine how much it must took. He was eating flesh, he had his body. This thing is interesting. This thing likes to feel good. Pride feeds this. Pride feeds this. Pride can never feed your spirit. Ever. Never, ever, ever, ever in a million years can feed your spirit. The Bible's a strange thing. It says that for you to be great in the kingdom of heaven, you must serve. You must humble yourself. So if you get to a place in your life now and you're recovering and all you're about is yourself and glorifying yourself, you're missing it.
Amen.
You're missing it. It doesn't mean you cannot be famous. It doesn't mean you cannot have a good business. But make sure your heart's right that the enemy cannot come and take it away from you. How many of us said get to a point, we grow, we get ourselves back on top of things, you call it. And next thing we know you're in trouble. Have you ever experienced it? What do you think that comes in? You're not dumb. Thank you. Right. Comes in. 1 Corinthians 8:1. Have your fingers sore yet?
No.
It's only another hour. 1 Corinthians 8:1. I like this. Be sensitive to conscience is what it says in the... And you know, most of us, with all the stuff we've done in our past, we see our conscience. Huh? We do, we see it. Have you noticed it's a lot easier to do the thing you did 3 weeks ago than it was the first time you did it? You start seeing your conscience. Here it says be sensitive to your conscience, and this is the way to do it. Now, concerning things offered to idols, we know that we all have knowledge. We all have knowledge about what's right, what's wrong. We have knowledge. Don't you all got knowledge? Have you sat in the philosopher's lab? Everybody knows something, can talk about something, can change something. Every one of us here. You do it, right? Who can't? I'm just going to check. See if you're out. Watch what it says here. Knowledge puffs up. Knowledge puffs up. But love edifies. Love edifies. You're wondering why you have all this knowledge and you know all the things you should do, but you don't do, maybe because you're not relying on the God who is love inside of you to help you apply what you know. Maybe.
Sure.
Are you edified with all the knowledge you have? Was this your plan for life? Listening to me on Friday night at 7:05. But every one of you are intelligent. Every one of you have this knowledge, but yet you put yourself in a position where you need to sort things out. No matter how fantastic you are, doesn't matter what you had, what you didn't have, let go of that. Let go of it and let God of love work in your heart. And if anyone thinks that he knows anything, he knows nothing yet as he ought to know. Now that's a statement. Even though you think you know something, the Bible says to you don't even know what you think you know. What is power? Knowledge. Applied knowledge is power. And many of us can't apply the knowledge we have. Or when we do start applying the knowledge we have, we're inconsistent. You know, inconsistent. 1 Corinthians 10 verse 12. So all the way around it. Damn, I didn't use it.
Sure.
The scripture has always stood out to me, especially back then. Because it says this, it says, therefore let him who thinks he stands take heed lest he fall. There are many of us here today that think we stand. We think we know better. And we need to be careful. Because if we think we stand, we think we know better, and it's our will, you're opening up yourself to a thing called pride. Arrogance. You're opening yourself up to it. Remember the enemy that fell? It was a beautiful creature. Beautiful. Why do you think you're beautiful? Just because you're beautiful doesn't mean you can't fall. Just because you know it all doesn't mean you can't fall. So we think. Just because you're more intelligent doesn't mean you can't fall. Don't think you stand means you fall. And the contemporary version says this. Even if you think you can stand up against temptation, be careful that you do not fall. Let us get to a place where we think we can stand up against temptation. It says, be wise in this situation. We think we just take it on head on. For the rest of our lives, people, we need to manage. For the rest of our lives, we need to be aware of certain things. Not walk around, well, it is me, but be aware of certain things. So that pride doesn't come back in. Do not think you stand. I can say with a clear conscience here, that scripture, but, and my man, you fall hard. It's only by the grace of God that I stand here and talk to this. If you think you can't go down that road, be my guest and pray that the grace of God brings you through. Watch out for that. Don't look at the word pride and say, I'm not there. Look at the fruits of what pride is.
Yes.
The fruits of pride. The fruits of pride. If you're unwilling to listen, if you think you know better, my way or the highway, you're all limp biscuit on me. Huh? I'll leave you this with this thought. St. Augustine made this quote. It was pride that changed angels into devils. It is humility that makes men into angels.
Wow. Amen.
You think it's the other way around?
Sure.
My expression. Father God, I want to thank you for your word, Lord. I want to thank you for your presence, your spirit, Lord. Our enemy is always trying to deceive us and trying to catch us out. He wants our souls, Lord, because he hates us. And I thank you that you love us. You love us and you give us understanding, knowing, Lord, with your spirit within us and around us. And I thank you, Lord, we get to a place, and are in a place, where it's not my will, but your will be done. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.